Hi, and welcome to the Redcast. I'm Eric Lanin, your host. Today we'll be talking with Vanessa Engelman, who's the marketing coordinator at Success Computer Consulting. And in this episode, we're going to be diving into marketing budgets, the barriers within, and how to really maximize a shoestring budget. Hi everyone, I have Vanessa Engelman with us today. We'll be talking a little bit about what she does to manage her marketing budget, some of the things that she's learned, and kind of share some of her best practices and some of the barriers that are still trying to get over, but share that with everyone else that I think many of us can relate as a small business. So how about you introduce yourself to the audience?
For sure. Thank you for having me. I am the marketing coordinator at Success Computer Consulting, which is a outsourced IT provider based out of Golden Valley. We have about 60 employees. We serve as the IT function for small to medium-sized businesses, so that can be as big as we're solely their IT team doing everything from network support and management, project implementation, etc. Or we work with existing IT departments just to mature their strategy and help alleviate their efforts to more above the line initiatives. So my team, our sales team is a total of 6 people. Well, 6 salespeople, 4 outside salespeople, 2 inside account managers. We have a sales assistant, and then there's me, the marketing coordinator, and then
Army of one.
Yes, Army of one. And then we all report to the VP of Business Development. So he is managing both the sales and marketing teams.
Got it. So why don't we talk and preface a little bit about what are the marketing tactics and strategies that you're engaged with this year?
For sure. So a big initiative of ours that has always existed even well before I came on board has been events, have been a huge lead generator for us. So we do one very large conference every year in April, which is called Twin Cities Tech Pulse, and we do that with a competitor of ours, and just for the betterment of education and educating our prospective clients and current clients on technology and operations of small business in general. So it's kind of evolved to a business conference, which is just like, we just view it as a huge value add.
And we attended, and it was awesome.
Yes,
Thanks for inviting us.
And then we do one in the fall as well that we host at the Microsoft Technology Center. It's kind of the same deal, just a more intimate event with 4 breakout sessions and just kind of a half day. And then throughout the year, we do lunch and learns on various topics, everything from like Office 365 tips and tricks to accidental IT manager sessions to a deeper dive on HIPAA and the compliance requirements around that, which resonates with a lot of our clients, or just to things that are not even really related to technology at all. So things like operating systems, and we're a huge theory of constraints people, so we implement that practice into our operations. So we kind of do sessions on that as well, which just for our clients and small businesses in general, wearing lots of hats, so we just view those as value adds. So events are a huge initiative. We've dabbled with some content marketing, which I think a lot of small businesses can relate to the fact that it's hard to keep that ball rolling. Especially, I think technology adds another layer of complexity because it's just like, it's constantly changing and evolving, which really...
And it's complex.
Correct, yeah. So it's hard to have like evergreen content around that, right? Because what could have been 3 years ago is absolutely not best practice anymore. So we've dabbled with that, and we continue to do that, just not to the degree that I wish we could, or we just don't have the capacity at the moment. So content and events are definitely 2 huge focuses of ours, and that's where I kind of put up a lot of our efforts.
Awesome. Well, it's good to kind of pick a couple versus diluting yourself across 20 different marketing channels and having to manage it, so it's by the time you get back to one of those other channels, it's already, you kind of put it pretty quickly. It's, it goes, or it ages very quickly.
For sure, yep,
so
absolutely.
The shelf life for content goes quick.
Yeah.
Technology is always changing and trying to be top of mind. It's like you either have to be completely dedicated to publishing new, relevant, and up-to-date content, or it's kind of like don't do it at all.
Right, exactly. Yep.
So I can see that from your side. And us, and being the technology business too, it's the same thing. When new features are released or new applications are promoted, it's like, well, in a year it's going to be, unread.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So let's talk about some of the barriers a little bit. So some of the Tech Pulse event that you had, that's a huge event, huge time commitment,
correct.
huge resource commitment, and very expensive. Granted, it's a paid event, so you can, at least cover a lot of those costs through that way. So,
Correct.
but again, you're on the hook, trying to drive attendance to make sure you get up for that. So it's risky.
Yep.
So let's talk about the barriers in the context of, you want to try something new. What would prevent you from trying to do that?
For sure. I think the number one biggest barrier is executive buy-in. So that's like first step. You can't be like, oh, I heard this great new marketing strategy and it works, so we have to try it, but it's going to cost us like 10 grand. You can't just like show up and ask for that. So something that I've learned is if I really do want to implement a strategy is you really have to do your research and you have to educate yourself, and you kind of have to present that to the executive team from start to finish. And, they want to invest in what generates leads, what's known to generate leads, what's been known to generate revenue, which for us is events, which is great. But I think that if we could also, expand as well. And so being able to kind of, before you've even started, you almost have to prove that it's already worked, which can be hard to do. So definitely doing my research, developing as much detail around a plan as I can, and identifying what's going to be needed for each step of the way to make it successful is kind of my biggest barrier for getting a budget approved for something. Is kind of something that we haven't tried before, and that's unknown. Another barrier that's difficult is when our sales team kind of has a want or a need, or if they identify, we participate heavily in conferences, which has proven to be successful. But since we know that they're successful, we kind of almost do this like spray and pray method where we just go to all of them and hope that they're all working to the same effectiveness. And so those get approved pretty quickly. And I kind of just have to make it work from there. So yeah.
But I think that kind of comes down to the tracking side of it, which is, okay, the salesperson or team requests to go to these 10 conferences, and you're like, okay, well, let's, field them out.
Right.
Maybe there are, 5 new ones and 5 existing ones. We knew that, those 5 ones that we attended last year were good, but hey, now they introduced 5 new ones. So talk a little bit about how you would maybe work with sales to say, hey, I understand that you want to go to this conference, to make sure that we spend our marketing dollars in the best way possible, so we're not just burning it out. Because if you're sharing your budget, I think that's what you're doing, is you share your budget with the sales team. It's, you want to protect it so you can save some of those resources aside.
Correct.
For when you want to do something that comes up and it's like, we got to act.
Yeah, for sure. So there's kind of 2 sides to this. We have the conferences that we've been participating in for years, and usually these conferences are associated with an association. So there's different associations around the Twin Cities areas. One for like legal administrators, one for nonprofits, which are all our target audience, our target companies, which is great because we have a huge brand awareness with them, and those are kind of just like, we know these are great conferences every year, etc. But when it comes to like these new ones that are kind of like, ooh, this seems like really niche, or like I there's not a lot of information on them. It's I ask the salespeople to be like, okay, like first of all, do we know of any clients or prospects that are attending this conference? What do they have to say about it? What's their experience been like there, etc. And also. And just if we're going to be going into a conference that we haven't done before, going in at a gold sponsorship probably isn't. I know you want to go big, but like sometimes just starting out small and making it and showing up in the best way possible can be just as effective as getting a gold sponsorship, which maybe would just slap our logo on in a couple more places at the conference. So it really, I kind of try to stress to the sales team, if we're going to try a new conference, like, you have to work the booth, you have to be engaging, etc. And then we'll see how it goes. And then if it works well, we can do it again next year.
Now, do you often run into some of those situations where, there's a request for doing a conference and it's, hey, I know we did this last year, but it wasn't worth it. And
Right.
And in your mind, it may have been successful based on the conversations, but at the end of the day, it comes down to what was the return on that. It's
Correct.
I want you to be successful, but the data shows that it wasn't.
It wasn't, right. And so I love going back to the data because the first thing, and I think this is why conferences, it's easy to be like, yes, like I'm going to say yes to this conference and invest in it, is because you can come back and be like, I felt like that was great. Like I have this really good feeling. Like I had so many conversations and I'm feeling good about it, blah, blah, blah. But then you go and you look into the system and all the opportunities have come from that. Maybe like one opportunity that hasn't even panned out yet. Like, you know what I mean? And so I really try to stress, like, if you felt like this conference was good, it is up to you to execute within our systems and track that, any opportunity that comes from this, that you're tracking this marketing campaign to it, so then I can review that information and make informed decisions about how we're spending our money for conferences next year.
And that's the importance of having just a CRM in general.
Correct.
Regardless of what it is, big or small, a CRM that you can track your opportunities and relate it back to marketing tactics is super helpful, because as a marketer, you're accountable for what did you do for the business this year.
Exactly.
And then it's kind of funny in your situation because you're kind of stuck in the middle. Like you're playing mediator between the sales team and your executive to say, well, we need to generate some leads. You need to work with sales. And it's like, well, sales wants to go to these conferences that we found are not valuable.
Right.
So then it's like you're
Yeah,
and
for
forth
sure.
constantly.
And something that I do love to do, and I've started doing this more frequently, is I show, we have weekly standing meetings, and I show our marketing campaign report and being like, okay, so like this is where we're at for like tracking all this stuff. So this thing we spent $7,000 on that you say is like the most, like the best investment, and you feel really good about it, has 0 opportunities connected to it. Like what's going on, and kind of like.
And you're not trying to be negative.
No,
it's like,
I'm not.
These
I'm
are the
just
facts.
I would love to see, you guys time, because I'm like, this spreadsheet right here is what helps my conversations on making these decisions with the executive team. So you got to help me here if you want to go to these conferences.
Thank you for watching this episode about marketing budgets. We hope this was helpful and you learned a few things. If you liked it, please subscribe. This really helps us out. And if you'd like to see more of our videos or podcasts, you can always find us on Stitcher, iTunes, and YouTube. See you next time.